along with the trailers for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which turns out were in fact a letdown for a lot of people, and I'm kind of glad I didn't get it. We also got the Pokemon Legends Arceus or Arceus, I don't really care, trailer. And immediately I was interested but worried because they showed like nothing in that trailer. And it's like, the frame rate's bad, there's nothing. What are we doing in this game? Is this going to be even halfway decent? What's going on? But, despite my worries, the more we saw, the more development it got. And I was like, okay, I'm confident now. I can get this, and I know I'm going to have a good time. And I got it, and I did. I had a very good time, actually. This honestly feels like where Pokemon should have been, I don't know, like 10 years ago. This should have, at the very least, I think, been a Wii U release. It could have been done. Instead, the first Switch release we got was Sword and Shield, which I don't know if I've said anything about that. I was disappointed with it, but my God, this just makes me feel really good. Even though this does feel like 10 years late, I'm so glad this is the direction things are going in so far, because it tells me that if they can build on this idea and develop it even more, we're going to get some really good games coming out in the future. As far as this one goes, it does feel like a slightly underdeveloped idea, or it's got some of the same pitfalls that normal Pokemon games have. But overall, it's a really fun experience. It's got sort of open world. It's kind of like open area. You got a lot of different areas, but those areas are kind of open world-ish, I guess. And man, that feels good. Like this is what Pokemon should be, like, going forward. We're probably going to get more like classic style Pokemon games, and I get it. You can't mix up your formula that much and expect it to just go fine. But if they had started that sooner, maybe the change wouldn't have been so bad. The world itself is, like I said, it feels a little underdeveloped, but still good. Like I would say, kind of unlike let's say Breath of the Wild, because everyone's already going to make that comparison. Everyone's already made that comparison. But let's take that as an example. Breath of the Wild feels like there's a lot going on. You can go to one area of the map and another area of the map. They're completely different. And even if there's not much to find there, it feels like a very distinct area, and it feels really special. Whereas in Legends, it's kind of like some of these areas feel semi-special, and then others just feel like it's just more of the same. Not much going on. There's these tribes going on, but they don't seem to leave a whole lot of impact on the region, oddly enough. I mean, there's a couple instances where it's like, this is a very special area, like, go through it, and it's like, okay, why is there not more of this? Why is there not more of this to show that the region's lived in? It just kind of feels like a whole lot of landscape and then a couple like ruins. Whereas in like Breath of the Wild, it's like, yeah, people have lived here for a very long time, and you'll find villages and stuff, you'll find like ruins of stuff, and then also you'll just find like random stuff places, like, oh, here's a random statue somewhere. I don't know, but it feels like the world could feel a little more lived in. As far as stuff to do, I would say, unlike Breath of the Wild, it's not as developed with stuff to do, but you also won't necessarily be short on stuff to do, because you got to collect materials, there's lots of Pokemon to catch, so while you're going through, like, you'll be constantly doing stuff, and that's good. Again, it just feels like it could be a little bit more developed. I don't know how, but I'm sure we can get there somehow. Now, catching Pokemon, that's the big thing, because this completely changes up the game on catching Pokemon, sort of. You can still catch Pokemon the normal way, which is encounter them, battle them, weaken them, and then catch them. However, there's the new mechanic of you can just throw the Pokeballs at them and then have a chance to catch them. And, some Pokemon are more aggressive than others, meaning, in that case, you have to play it smart. Some of them will run away from you. You gotta, attract them to like a berry or something, and sneak behind them to get a better chance at catching them. You have new Pokeballs. Like, you have the standard Pokeball, Great Ball, Ultra Ball, whatever. But you also have like the heavy balls and the feather balls, and those have their own special attributes. And honestly, I love this system. This is where we should have been already, but I'm glad we're here at all. It's like a little puzzle when trying to catch certain Pokemon, because you've got the alpha Pokemon this time around, and those are like especially hard to catch because they're all aggressive and they have worse capture rates and blah blah blah. And yeah, it feels so good to just like find the right way to catch them so that you don't have to battle them, and then you just get a really, really strong Pokemon in your team. Just, like, this is the pinnacle of catching Pokemon. And I hope they continue Legends, like, purely for this reason. But of course, a huge part of Pokemon is the battling. That's, like, a big thing, because it's a turn-based combat game. And this system, I've seen it compared to one of the Final Fantasies, like 8 or 10 or something. I don't remember. I don't play any of the Final Fantasy games, at least not like the original ones. Like I played the 7 remake, but that's about it. I'm not a huge fan of turn-based games, so who knows? Maybe that'll change. I'll change my mind at some point. Who knows? But for now, don't really play much turn-based games. But the new system that they've got going on for battling, it's not. I mean, it is a semi-new system. It's still like turn-based. It's still got a lot of familiar moves and stuff like that. Still got all the typings, but it feels like for the layer of like complication that they added to it with the strong and agile styles, they also took away a lot of complication, and I kind of like that because, you know, you're learning a new system, and then you're also like having to unlearn some of the more complicated aspects of how Pokemon was originally. Because you like a lot of moves and like stat boosting and status effects and stuff like that. It feels like a lot of them in like the main series have overcomplicated things. There's a lot of moves with like specific stat boosts, some really good, some, you know, less powerful, some with like some that cause confusion or infatuation, which is like never used. It feels like this is trimming the fat, so to speak. There are some moves with their effects changed, and, you know, with other aspects changed. Like Water Pulse no longer has a chance to cause confusion because confusion's not in the game, which is kind of good because that's RNG, and RNG is not always the most fun. Sometimes it's just like an annoyance more than anything. Same thing goes with Infatuation, which those are like half status effects. I've always found that really weird. But speaking of status effects, they changed those up a little bit. You can still only have one status effect active, but if you so desire, you can replace status effects on your opponents. And I find that very interesting. And pretty much, I think every status effect wears off at some point. And, you know, that's another interesting aspect. It's probably for the better, honestly. But, and then what else is there? Sleep is no longer a thing, now it's drowsy. And it's basically like, sometimes you just won't be able, it's kind of like paralyzation, honestly, where it's just like, sometimes you just can't move because you're too sleepy. But sometimes you can still move. I don't know. Yeah, overall, I just like this overhaul to the battle system because, you know, trims the fat, simplifies some things. It just makes it way nicer. I like it. And then with, and stat boosting moves, I don't know if I mentioned this. I don't think I did. Instead of raising a specific stat, like special attack or like physical defense, it's like, no, you either raise like offensive stats or defensive stats, maybe both if you're lucky. And again, that's like another layer of complication that Pokemon kind of didn't need, and it's good to have. I mean, it's good to not have it. It's good to get rid of it. And honestly, where like past games I've had like I've been getting like I didn't even realize I was getting more annoyed with the combat as the games went on, because like there's just a lot to it. I mean, I know some people like that level of complication because it gives you more strategy and stuff like that. I think it's better this way, honestly, and I found battling more fun because of it. Because now I'm focusing more on the agile and strong moves, and I really hope this is a system that sticks around because it's again, it adds a layer of strategy and takes away from something that I feel like is overcomplicated and really didn't need to be there. And if I'm willing to take a guess as someone who's done programming before, I bet what they did with, or at least what the smart thing to do with the stat boosting moves or stat reducing moves is code them all the same, like code them as the same situation, but when someone uses a different move, just reference that. And, just that one reference instead of having to code every single thing like different. I bet that's easier on the system, or easier on like how much code there is. That's a guess. I have no idea if this is accurate, but if that's the case, good on them. I like the crafting aspect as well, because you have to like think about how much you have. You have to be able to go out and farm stuff. I mean, if you're doing it right, you should just be picking stuff up along the way, and not just running through everything. Though at one point I did get to the point where I had so many apricorns for making Pokeballs that I legit didn't have to pick any up for the rest of the game, and I was only like halfway through or something, but maybe that's just me. But the material gathering, I like that. It just adds another layer. I feel like it could be more developed, but I hope they do so in the future, because it's nice not having to like find a store, go buy Pokeballs. It's like, I'm in the field, I need Pokeballs now. Oh, I have a crafting kit. I could just make them. And then they do have crafting benches, which basically is like, oh, you can use anything from your storage because there's a storage thing right next to you. But your crafting kit, it's like you can only use what you have on hand. So if you don't have it, too bad. The riding Pokemon are okay. I would say they're not the best. Weirdeer, honestly, early on I could use him to get to places I probably shouldn't have, but whatever. And then I'll keep spoilers free for now and skip a couple of them. But the Braviary one, the flying one, that honestly is the one that made the least sense to me, because I would say the correct way to do it is have free flying or have an option to ascend, because the only options you have with Braviary are dash forward or descend. You can't go up, you can only go straight or down. I don't understand that, because Braviary already has like this slow descent for some reason. And yeah, they just don't have an option to go up, and it's like, there are some situations in which I just want to go up. I don't want to have a separate ride Pokemon for that. That's annoying. Anyway, the story itself is pretty bare bones, I guess. It's not all that special. I feel like could have been a little better, but it's also not completely awful. It just needs a little more love, maybe. I didn't feel like there was like a proper rival. I mean, there's some reoccurring characters that just kind of show up here and there, but I felt like there was no one that really felt like I'm competing with you. Like, yeah, there was like none of that. I mean, there was one or two characters that kind of tried to act like that, but then they just kind of dropped off at some point, or disappeared for a huge length of time before you encounter them again. And it's just like, I feel like I would have wanted a rival. Every Pokemon game's had a rival. Why is there not one here? I want someone to truly compete with. Speaking of people to truly compete with, there's not. It's at least treated like there's not a whole lot of Pokemon trainers. Though to some extent, there's quite a few, or at least you do quite a few trainer battles, sort of. But I don't know. It works out. The only thing is, when you encounter a trainer, they don't have a lot of Pokemon most of the time. In fact, I think there's only like one trainer in the entire main game that has 6 Pokemon. Like just the one. that's kind of crazy. just one in the whole game. Like, wow. Granted, I feel like the level curve is pretty good. If you're not using XP candies, I feel like by the time you reach the final fight, if you're playing through normally, or even if you're like going a little ham on like catching Pokemon and doing stuff, you might still run into level problems if you go against the final boss. Like, huh. I kind of like that. Maybe not being too behind by the final boss, but like, yeah, I reasonably went through the game doing a lot of stuff. Like, by no means was I just trying to get to the next story beat. I would, spend my time catching as many new Pokemon as I could, going out battling stuff to level up my Pokemon, and still, I was under-leveled by the time I reached the final fight. Like, dang, I've never... And you still have the EXP all, but this level curve is actually, semi-balanced. I feel like some of the trainers with, like, one Pokemon probably could have been balanced slightly better. But, overall, I feel like it works. Especially if you can find, like, a layer of strategy to have. Now, one thing a lot of people noticed from the initial trailers was graphical fidelity. The graphics do look better than the trailers. Pretty much all the trailers have made them out to be. Though they still, like the game itself, feels about 10 years behind. Maybe even more so in some instances. If you get up on a high place and look down at like a body of water, it does not look good. It's like small repeated textures, and you're just like, oh, all right, that doesn't look great. Probably could have had a few. You probably could have bigger water textures if you were going to do that. But I mean, honestly, I've seen GameCube games with like better water, and that's kind of sad. I think the most egregious one I saw was there's a scene where there's lava in the background flowing from a volcano, and it looks like Minecraft lava. It looks so bad. But, again, most of the game is fine. Most of it looks good. Most of the Pokemon, they look good in the world. They don't look awful. I will say, I feel like it would have been nice to have Pokemon doing more things. Like, as it stands, most of them just walk around. Sometimes they do a roar, or they might be sleeping. But I would love in the future if they could have Pokemon interacting with the environment a little more. Like, yeah, you can throw food at them, but what if they're like, what if they find a berry tree and try to get the berries off of it? Or what if you have like some object that they start playing with or something? Or have Pokemon interact with each other, have them fight each other, or, have them play together. I want to see stuff like that. I want to see them interacting like they're in a world and not just there to walk around. I mean, again, this is fine for a first try, and it feels late, but I hope this goes further than it does, because it's a great start, but needs more. So as far as my Pokemon team this time around, I really wanted to choose a team that I would not normally go with. Like most Pokemon games, I'm just like, I like that one's design, I'm going to go for that one. And then I'm going to get a whole team of those. Like, I'm going to get a whole team of Pokemon whose designs I like, and that's about it. With no thought into stats or rounding out my team type-wise or anything like that. This time I really, really wanted to do that. And, towards the end of the game, I mean like the very end, I wanted to change my team up, but it was a little too late because I had done everything. Or I had done just about everything. But for the majority of the game, my team consisted of Typhlosion, which was, the starter I picked. Scizor, yeah, not the Cleavor. I don't really like the way it looks, and Scizor is really cool. Also, Bug Steel typing is pretty good. Honchkrow, Blissey, Tangrowth, and Whiscash. Now, at first, I only had a couple alphas on my team, which were ones that I just kind of found. But eventually, I ended up replacing almost my entire team with alphas because my goodness, alphas are they're really good to have because they have better stats. They're huge, which is kind of funny. Yeah, just overall, like they're better to have. And if you're playing through this, you will want alphas on your team. It doesn't have to be a full team of alphas, but you will want at least a couple on your team. And it did upset me a little that I was replacing the Pokemon I had initially with alphas, but I don't know. I mean, the whole game's about research and catching as many Pokemon as you can, which is like the first time Pokemon's ever been about that in the games. You know, minus the first game, I guess. Except there wasn't really any incentive to. It was just like, oh, just catch them all because. And then you'll have them all. Like, okay. But this one, no, it's like you have incentive to. And then I was just like, you know what? Why not just have the best versions of the ones that I have? Let's do it. Overall, I really liked my team. It got me through a lot. And I feel like the typing of my moves and my Pokemon and the stat spread was pretty good. And I used some Pokemon that I wouldn't normally use, so that's great. It does. So in the main story, it does feel kind of like, so you join the Survey Corps to like go do your Pokemon research, but it kind of feels like you're the only one doing anything. Which, I mean, I know you get isekai'd into it, but like, you telling me like no one else is actually getting anything done? Is there no one for me to really aspire to? Like, literally, you get there, and then you're like, they're like, okay, catch these 3 starters. Okay, good job. You should be a member of the Survey Corps. And then they're like, 3 in a row? That's something not many people can manage to do. It's like, really? Okay. And then they make you go out into the field, and they're like, here, catch these really basic Pokemon. And they're like, wow, you're really impressive. It's like, am I really, though? Like, I barely did anything. Can you have, like, any NPCs with like an alpha Pokemon, like, and they have the star rating, and there's like nowhere that goes with. You can get up to like 10 stars. I've never managed to get up to 10 because you need to like pretty much do everything. Like you need to completely fill out your Pokedex to get to that point. But it weirds me out that no one else, you never find out about anyone else's star ranking. I feel like that's something that should come up at some point. No one else like brags about anything impressive that they've done. There's no other Survey Corps members with an alpha Pokemon. I feel like at least one with an alpha Pokemon being like, wow, this guy's really impressive, he caught an alpha Pokemon. Like, no, nothing? Okay. I would really like to see that developed in the future, assuming it's, you know, got the same sort of stuff going on. At one point you go to catch the legendary Pokemon, and there was one thing that really upset me, and that is there's at least one legendary Pokemon that I know of because it affected me that I can't get because I didn't get Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. And that's Darkrai. Of all Pokemon, it's Darkrai, one of my favorite legendaries, because I'm edgy. I was like really excited, like I'm gonna maybe put Darkrai on my team, who knows, because I really like it. And then I was like, man, how do I get this? Because I haven't encountered it yet, and I'm like towards the end. What's going on? And then I find out, oh, I need Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which doesn't, you know, it doesn't prevent you from getting Arceus, which is good, because that would be a load of BS. But you can't get Darkrai. I don't know if there's any other, like, I don't know if there's like one for Sword and Shield, where it's like if you don't have Sword and Shield, you can't get this one. I haven't looked it up, but the fact that you're keeping Pokemon behind an extra paywall like that upsets me. Like, if it were a cosmetic item or something, or like a special alpha legendary or something, okay, that I could understand. But the fact that it's just a Gen 4 Pokemon in a Gen 4 game that you're keeping behind such a massive paywall as, like, what is it, $60? Are you, like, seriously? That upsets me, and it's a Pokemon that I really wanted. And I like never put legendaries on my team anymore, but that's one I really wanted. So thanks, I guess, Game Freak. Jerks. As far as battling, I did, you know, I said I like the new battle system. The trainers are kind of balanced even if they don't all have 6 Pokemon. Though there were a few instances where, you know, things were noticeably like different. there's a couple trainers where at some point in the game you'll eventually be fighting 3 at once, and you at no point can send out more than 1 Pokemon, which is a little frustrating, but more strategy. I kind of like that in a sense. It definitely is a challenge. There's no like Elite Four equivalent, I guess, so it does kind of feel like a natural, like, where things go. The sort of end of the main story was a little flaccid, and the final fight was not as much as I would have expected. So is the final fight with Arceus when you finally get to him. Although that was significantly better, still wasn't what I would have imagined. But the real kicker for me, beyond everything, is that in the I guess sort of post game before you encounter Arceus, there is a final fight where you fight like the one trainer with 6 Pokemon, and that was honestly the hardest thing I've ever done in a Pokemon game. Like, my goodness. Especially because I was underleveled. So if you are not overleveled for this, like, you are probably gonna struggle unless you're really good at Pokemon, and even then you might struggle. It also hit me with a wait, really? And honestly, hands down, I feel like one of the best moments that I've seen in Pokemon. It's not Red by any means. It's not what's something else comparable to that? I don't know. But it was a really, really great moment, and I really liked it. So, having something like that was... I really hope they do something like that if they do another Legends game, and I really do hope they do another Legends game, because this is just, it's so nice. Underdeveloped, could be better, hope they do more in the future, but really nice. Alright, by this point I feel like I've said everything I can. Hopefully I have, because there's just so much to talk about in this game. But yeah, I hope to see more of these. I don't know which, Legends they would do next. I don't know how the story would go. Arceus is kind of an interesting one to go straight into. But, yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'd do the Isekai thing again, because that was kind of dumb. And then they're like, oh, here's a smartphone, but it's really ugly and uncomfortable to hold. Okay, thanks. But, yeah, I'm hoping they kind of don't do that again, because... That just kind of seemed arbitrary. I don't know, and I'm kind of hoping in the future that they have like a more established protagonist, because I know everyone likes to self-insert, but I want like an actual character to play as once in a while, and Pokemon hasn't really had that for a good long time. So I don't know. I have wishes, hopes for the next one. I really enjoyed this one. I hope they keep doing it. And I'm sure they're probably going to do mainline games, but this is more what I hope for the future of Pokemon. I probably won't. As it stands now, I don't really have plans to get any future mainline games. We'll see, but, my hopes aren't super high for that. But more Legends games, I am all in. You got me. You'd have to majorly screw up for me to not want to get another one of those. All right. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Click all the buttons and have a great day.